You don't trust easily, not because you're cold, not because you don't care, but because at some point, trust stopped making sense. You listen, but you don't fully believe. You watch, you analyze, you read between the lines. Not just what people say, but what they might mean. Because your mind learns something early. What people show you isn't always what's real. This is where it starts. You go through something, a moment, a person, an experience where trust didn't hold. Maybe it was betrayal. Maybe it was inconsistency. Maybe it was someone you relied on who wasn't there when it mattered. And your brain took note, not emotionally, strategically. Don't rely too much. Don't believe too quickly. Stay alert. This is the shift. You didn't become distrustful overnight. You adapted, piece by piece, until trusting people started to feel like a risk. And this isn't just personal. Research shows that betrayal trauma, especially from close relationships, can significantly reduce a person's ability to trust others later in life. Because when trust is broken by someone close, it doesn't just hurt, it rewires how you see people. This is the mindset. You don't take things at face value. You question them, even the good, even the genuine, because part of you is always asking, what's the real intention here? Imagine this. Someone compliments you. Simple, normal, but your mind doesn't leave it there. You think, why did they say that? What do they want? Is this real or temporary? And now, a positive moment becomes something to analyze. This is what psychologists describe as trust difficulty patterns, where people struggle to believe that others' intentions are genuine and often expect betrayal or hidden motives. So even when something is real, it doesn't feel stable. This leads to something deeper. Hypervigilance, a constant state of scanning, looking for inconsistencies. Because your brain believes, if I catch it early, I won't get hurt later. But here's what research shows. Hypervigilance doesn't create safety. It creates stress. Studies from Cleveland Clinic, Ohio, show that people in constant threat detection mode struggle to relax, feel safe, or maintain stable emotional connections. Because your system is always asking, what could go wrong? There's also a neurological side to this. The part of your brain responsible for detecting threat, the amygdala, becomes more sensitive when trust has been broken repeatedly, which means it reacts faster, stronger, even to subtle emotional shifts. Research in effective neuroscience shows that heightened amygdala activity is linked to increased vigilance and emotional reactivity, especially in social and relational contexts. So what you're experiencing isn't just overthinking, it's your brain trying to protect you before anything happens, even when nothing is wrong. Picture this. You're in a relationship. Everything seems fine, but you don't fully settle because part of you is waiting for something to change, a shift in tone, a delay in response, a difference in behavior. And when it happens, even slightly, your mind reacts immediately. Here it is, the beginning of the change. This is the pattern. You don't trust the present because you've already seen the future. At least, that's what it feels like. But here's the deeper truth. Your brain isn't predicting reality, it's referencing memory. Research shows that people with trust issues often interpret current relationships through the lens of past experiences. So you're not reacting to what's happening, you're reacting to what once happened. And over time, this becomes identity. You become the one who doesn't rely, the one who doesn't open easily, the one who keeps control. Because control feels safer than trust. And there's a name for this pattern. In attachment psychology, it's often linked to what's called avoidant attachment, a style where the brain learns to rely on itself instead of depending on others. Research published by National Institutes of Health shows that individuals with avoidant attachment tend to suppress emotional needs and distance themselves from closeness, not because they don't want connection, but because they've learned it's unreliable. So instead of trusting, they stay self-contained. For example, things start getting deeper, closer. more real. And instead of leaning in, you pull back, not enough to end it, but enough to protect yourself because closeness feels like exposure. And there's another layer most people don't talk about. Trust isn't just psychological, it's biological. A hormone called oxytocin plays a key role in bonding and emotional connection. But studies show that when trust is broken repeatedly, the body reduces its sensitivity to that bonding signal, meaning connection doesn't feel as natural or as safe as it once did. So even when something is genuine, your system doesn't fully relax into it. This is the paradox. You want connection, but you don't trust it, and that creates tension because part of you is open and part of you is guarded. And this affects everything. How you communicate, how you respond, how much you give. Because instead of experiencing the relationship, you manage it carefully, strategically. And here's the cost. Trust issues don't just affect relationships. They affect your entire system. Research shows that unresolved trust patterns can impact mental health, relationships, and overall well-being because you're constantly balancing stay open or stay safe. And most of the time, you choose safe. Final truth. You don't struggle to trust because you're incapable. You struggle to trust because your mind learned not to. And for a while, that protected you. It kept you aware. It kept you from being blindsided. But now, it's doing something else. It's keeping you distant from things that are actually real because trust isn't certainty. It's risk, controlled risk. And the goal isn't to trust blindly. It's to trust consciously, to know when to open without needing guarantees because guarantees don't exist. Only choices do. So the question isn't, why can't I trust people? It's, why did I learn not to? So when you look at yourself and you notice how hard it is to trust, understand this. You didn't become this way by accident. You learned it from moments that didn't hold, from people who weren't consistent, from experiences that taught you that relying on others comes with risk. And your mind did what it was supposed to do. It adapted. It built awareness. It built control. It built distance, where distance felt safer. And for a while, that worked. But here's the part that matters now. The same system that protects you also limits you. Because when you don't trust easily, you don't just block what could hurt you. You also block what could be real, what could be stable, what could actually stay. And that's the line most people never see. There's a difference between being aware and being closed, between protecting yourself and isolating yourself. And if you don't recognize that difference, you can spend your life staying safe without ever feeling secure because safety comes from control. But trust comes from choice. The choice to open without guarantees. The choice to engage without needing certainty. The choice to let something be real, even when it feels unfamiliar. And once you understand that, you don't lose your awareness. You don't lose your control. You refine it. You stop treating everyone like a risk and start seeing clearly who actually is. And that's where trust begins. Not easily, but intentionally. And when you reach that point, you're no longer reacting to the past. You're choosing what happens next.